to create is to be in the flow of what I would call God. Only God creates. The ego, that which we think of as me, that is, if I think of that as separate from God, that doesn't actually get to make anything.
That's Michael Gungor. He once led worship in huge megachurches and wrote all these famous Christian anthems that I sung myself in church, earning him multiple Grammy nominations along the way. But after deconstructing his own faith, he found a connection to God outside of the system. And in this conversation, we talk about finding the divine through creativity, discovering calling outside of religion, and how to make an impact without falling into savior mode. This is the conversation I've been waiting to have with the one and only Michael Gungor. Let's imagine you're sitting on an airplane, though, real quick, and somebody looks over at you and says, "What do you do for a living?" How do you choose to respond to a stranger?
I answer all sorts of different ways. Usually, lately I've said, I usually say I'm a musician.
You just leave it at that? I'm a musician?
And then they say, then they usually ask, what kind of music? And then I'm like, oh God, here we go. Lately I've said mystical pop.
No way, really? How would people respond to that? I mean, California, I think nobody blinked twice. Here in Georgia, man, they'd be like, what?
But I've also said my musical style is ADHD. That's because I'm kind of all over the map, genre-wise and sound-wise. But for me, there has been like a mystical, spiritual sort of thread through all my changes. Starting out in Christian music, and then sort of like singing about my doubts within all of that, and then everywhere it's gone. So it's kind of a fun tongue-in-cheek way of talking about it, and people usually are just curious about it. Whoa, what is that? What do you mean by that?
Yeah.
So that's the shorthand lately. I'm sure it will change soon because I've said different things through the years. It is a funny thing to try to describe what I do, though, because people, the way our minds work, we want to put you in a box. It's like a quick, where do you go? And if they look me up, it depends what article they look at. Oh, you're a Christian musician, or oh, you're a whatever. It's like, well, that's a little more nuanced than any of these boxes for me in particular. But I think it's like that for all of us. But I in particular kind of like were put in boxes, and then I sort of set fire to the boxes that I was in.
Come on.
So it's hard sometimes to describe that process.
Yeah. I heard you say and this might have been a while ago, I don't know, but something along the lines of that creativity, music specifically, has always been a spiritual process for you, even when you were younger. And I was just curious, going through the, making music for different things, how has like the creative process changed for you over the years? Big ass question, but
funny, it's more like it was originally now. It's more like a child playing than any sophisticated process. Like, I think we learn the more process-oriented, results-oriented thing as we go through school, as we get older, as we realize like, oh, some people are better singers than me, or painters than me, or mathematicians, they do better at math. So I guess I'm not a math guy. I'm a music guy, or whatever. Like, we put ourselves into these boxes, and then sometimes we learn shortcuts and ways of engaging with what we think we're good at, in ways that give us shortcuts, and ways that give us we get skilled. You put in your 10,000 hours or whatever, and you get quote unquote skilled. But I actually think sometimes in that you can lose the magic of why you were doing what you're doing in the first place. There's something about how a kid creates, just like a little kid, that it's not about what they look like. It's not about what status it gives them. It's not about providing security for themselves. It's just fun. It's just, oh, this would be fun to do this voice. And it's not even the thought of that. They just do it. They just, they're just making up characters, making up stuff. I think that is the heart of like what creativity is in its essence, is just this raw, playful, loving, in my perspective. It's loving of life. It's loving of the world, because you're playing with it. You're engaging it. Whatever you're coming into contact with, you're responding to it and engaging and moving in and out of it. And the you and the it kind of get blended together in this beautiful dance of play, of creativity. And that's more what it's like now for me in making music. I don't have any, I mean, sometimes I have to try to forget that I know anything about music, because I've studied a lot about music, and I know it's like, if I know this is kind of theoretically what is in the key or in the, I can start thinking about it in a more analytical way. And if that starts happening, usually I'm leaving just the raw magic of like, what is music? It's just sound that helps us like express feeling. That's amazing. And so my creative process now is more like that. Like, that sounds cool. What if I did this with that too? It's just like really not a lot to it. It's just really playful.
There is a lot to that though. Like, yesterday, I kid you not, I'm having this conversation with my husband. He just said, what is it that we always sit on Sundays and just ask each other weird questions? But he said, what is it that this next year you really want to develop and get better at? And I told him my imagination. He was like, he's not like a weirdo like me. He's very analytical and science and all that. And he's like, okay. And first he started with why, and I kind of explained why that was important to me. But then he was just kind of confused that would be something that I would feel like I wasn't as good at. And to be honest with you, I've been noticing it's like, if you can imagine curiosity and play, I can see it like there, but I feel like it's hard to feel connection to it again. I'm almost 40. I mean, I've been very results oriented and so forth. And I've just been thinking about it, about how that connection to wonder and play and creativity and really God's source, it's just stuffed out of us for whatever reasons. And I just been having a big question mark about, how do I get that back in my life and nurture it? You know what I mean? Especially, and I know you've, tell me if I'm wrong, experienced this when it's been used for something. Your creativity has been used with an agenda in mind. So letting go, back to your point earlier, with outcome and giving yourself the freedom to play and get better at imagination. I know that sounds really weird.
No,
it's been on my mind.
Yeah, it's almost, I think with this stuff, some of us, like I was saying before, we start thinking of ourselves as, oh, I'm not a musical person. I'm not a creative person. I'm a science person. I don't think that's true. I think that the nature of existence is creative, and is like, I'm looking at some trees and flowers out my window right now, and it's beautiful. Like, the whole scene is magnificent, but it's not that those flowers grow with a thought in mind of, okay, well, I'm going to grow to be about 8 inches tall. I'm going to face the little northeast. I'm going to try to spread out that's not how it works. Like, the way that things grow is very immediate. It's like water gets poured on and it goes, oh, it drinks it in. Water.
Yeah.
Sun is over there and it kind of like leans towards the sun. And when a child plays, it just leans towards the fun. It's just natural. It's natural for us to interact with these brains that we have are powerful machines, and our imaginations are powerful things, but if we let them be, I don't think it's not even so much that we have to like do something to get them going, as much as like remove the things that we're stuffing them up with.
What do you think like are some of those things we need to remove? Like you said, you went back to being more childlike. What were the things you needed to remove to do that?
I think the biggest one might be approval. Like when we are looking, when we do this in school, they start grading us. We draw a picture. At first, it's just fun. And then they give us a grade on it. And they say, that's not good enough. Yeah. Or, if you would have done this, that would have been better. Oh, okay. So I'll get teacher's approval, which is like kind of a stand-in for a parental role, if I do it a little cleaner here along the edges. And we start trying. Now we're painting the picture like we're doing it, not because it's fun, not because it looks like this would be a more beautiful painting necessarily. I'll get approval or I'll get something. It becomes transactional. The creativity becomes a tool that I'm using to get something else, as opposed to an end in itself. Like think of the difference between if you're just going to have a dance party with your friends or enter a dance competition. Like one is just fun and one is terrifying. Like I would hate to be in a dance competition, but I can't, I don't know what I'm doing, but I don't know what I'm doing becomes really fun if we just have a dance party and I don't care. We're just dancing around the living room, whatever. Yeah. So I think like when the creativity becomes, and this is hard, especially when it becomes like your career. Yeah. You're like, now it's not just approval. Now it's like security and safety. Yeah. Because this is how I provide for myself and my family. And so now, the art needs to be a certain way to get enough approval to make me safe. And now it's just wound up in all this stuff. And so when I go in to try to be in the creativity and I'm going, okay, is this good enough? That's not where anything comes from. Like, that's not what things are created from. Again, that's not how the flowers grow. They don't go, am I good enough to grow? The thought, is this good enough? Am I good enough? Is going to quash that flow, that force of creativity.
You said approval is the thing we need to, I don't know if we'll ever not care about approval, but, work towards that. I'm curious, like with your life, your career, your shifts and adjustments, like when, was there a specific point that you remember that you felt like you had not necessarily like freed yourself from worrying about people's approval, but felt the most free that you had ever felt from it? When that was, and what were the circumstances around it?
Well, it's actually one of the primary meditation tools that I used for a while. There's this thing called the Sedona Method that I really like. And one of the methods, you find something that bothers you, and one of the things that it does is invite you to say, okay, is there any desire for approval in this, or desire for control, or desire for safety? And then you can kind of look at that as its own energy within, because it can really get braided into what you think you're feeling. So it's like, I think I'm feeling, just angry at my friend for not calling me lately. And I don't see that that's somehow wound up with, I'm feeling unsafe, I'm feeling ungrounded because I don't have a community, and I want him to call me and reassure me. And I'm not seeing some of the roots of the feelings that I'm having. I think it's just I'm angry at him objectively because he hasn't been calling me. And it's not quite that simple, or quite that's not actually what's going on inside of me. And so this practice is like looking for those ingredients. Okay, can I find any desire for approval in this? Can I find any desire for control or safety? And then really just letting yourself feel that and letting that release naturally as you feel it, just kind of letting that go. And what happens is that's kind of like deeper in the roots of the tree, and then the fruit of the tree, our current thoughts, behaviors, and actions end up changing. We usually try to adjust our fruit, the actions, the thoughts, but just directly, like, I don't want to feel sad, I want to feel happy. Be happy, and we try to find some external stimulus to make me. Let's go get some ice cream. Let's play some game. Like I need to be happy. Let's fix it on the outside. But usually there's a lot of wound up stuff on the inside that's kind of unconscious that we're not looking at, of why we're feeling those things. So whenever I've done that, the result is freedom. The result is, if I notice anything that feels stuck, anything that feels like, why am I just like slugging through this right now? Those are some of the questions I tend to ask. And if I'm making a record and I'm like, why am I stuck on this song? And if I do that practice and like, do I want people to approve of me because of this song? And it's not even a judgy question. Like oh no, I shouldn't be feeling like I want approval. It's not that. It's just noticing that that's actually what I want. Because it's when I lie to myself and say, I just want, no, I'm angry at my friend because him.
Yeah.
Then I'm lost in my own lies to myself about what I'm actually wanting. But if I'm honest, I'm like, no, I just really feel like I want to feel safe. And then I can find that within myself. I can find that desire and I can meet that need actually. If I just like quiet down and take care of that part of me that feels unsafe, I'm probably not as mad at my friend. Like has nothing to do with him actually. I was projecting that onto him. And so that happens creatively. So a time, I mean, I think, sorry, it's a long answer to your question, but I think one of the first times I remember feeling like incredibly free with some of this stuff was back in 2010. I did this retreat in Assisi, Italy, and I did a week of silent meditation and was just kind of looking inside for some of these problems that I thought were outside of me for so long. And including about, talking about spirituality earlier, like including my big questions about God and what I believed and what was the right thing to believe. And having a week of just silence and just looking inward, I saw that those questions weren't what I thought they were. And it just wound up in this place. I was literally just like dancing on the hills of Assisi like a little kid, just up in it, just like totally free for the first time in my life. And it was absolutely beautiful.
I need to do that. It's time for me. I put here Muse ? God ? What you think?
Yeah, I kind of think they're the same actually. But I like, here's where it goes, where I just want to acknowledge where it goes wrong sometimes, because I imagine people hear, if you're like, well, I grew up in church where sometimes people would like sing a song up in front of the church, and if you'd say, good job, they'd be like, oh, thanks, it was God. And I was like, well, it wasn't really that good. I mean, it was, it's like, it was fine. I was just being polite. So,
oh, that's good.
But I do think kind of what I was saying before about the flowers, like if I'm honest, whenever I can look at something that's been created by me, if you will, it really feels more like through me. Because how can I, even the thoughts that I'm saying right now on this, where did they come from? I can't actually make anything happen if I try. If I'm like, okay, think of something really clever, go. Think of something, like if I try, it actually probably makes me more bound up and less able to say something clever. It's like the idea of like, try to relax, like be relaxed, like, oh, okay, relax. Oh, relax. It's like, it actually fights itself. So the experience, conversely, when you're surrendered into letting whatever wants to come through, it really does feel like you're a vessel, or like you're whatever you would think of as you, this body, this mind, these feelings, these emotions are conduits. They're the vessel through which creativity comes. The muse, the spirit, however you want to talk about it. Yeah. It's like magical. It's mystical. It's hard to, when you're actually lost in the flow of it, you can't really say, I'm doing this.
Yeah.
It's just not how it is. And this is how all the great, if you hear ask any of the people who have made amazing, great art and things through history, they'll say something like that. It's like, if you say, how did you do that? They're not going to have, well, I tried really hard to think of it. It's like, it just happened.
It's you. Yeah.
It just like happened through me. And so the practice is more kind of like letting go, surrendering to being that vessel. And that surrendering can look like showing up at your desk every day and just waiting until, or just starting to let it come through, start writing something. And then if it starts happening, let it happen. And I think it's more of a practical description, or, I'm not trying to create a theology by talking like this, of saying like, okay, first pray to the muse,
sit down at your desk at 12.
And this is what comes through is God, and this is what God is made of. I'm speaking more poetically and just like, and again, not saying in the same way, like complimenting the soloists, not saying like, oh, what you did is the highest expression of God that has ever existed. You've created scripture that we should all take and hold sacrosanct. It's not that. It's just, to create is to be in the flow of what I would call God. I think only God, in this framing, only God creates.
Yeah.
The ego, that which we think of as me, that is, if I think of that as separate from God, that doesn't actually get to make anything.
Yeah.
It is only the spirit, that living creative force of everything that is the creator. And so when we become vessels of that, tools of that, the very hands and feet of that, if you will, that's when beautiful stuff. Yeah, it's exciting. It's amazing.
I just like smile when you say it, because, the idea of reconstruct is, I just think I kind of got tired of being mad. And I'm just like, man, I want to feel life again and be free and happy and not be. I love what you said. You said it several times, but kind of talking about how you're not like ex-evangelical, you're not ex-Christian anymore, because, it's still that adheres to something as opposed to just being kind of detached. And what does light us up and what does feel like life again. And I don't know if you can attest to this, but for me, it's like I feel like I found church again through creativity and creative process and all that. And I don't feel like I'm creatively talented at all, but I read all the creative books and talk to a ton of creatives. And I'm just like, man, this feels like life-giving. And this feels like something I can wrap my arms in. Maybe this is a really safe place for people to land when they're tired of talking about what they're against and they want to try to figure out what they're for and what feels like life again. It's messy, but I'm just curious, like, your reflections on that, because I'm early in this kind of process of the kind of reconstruction part of my phase, and for some reason I'm leaning into learning more about creativity as a method of that.
Yeah, I like your instincts of seeing the tie-in of creativity and spirituality, because I do think they go together. I think that but the statements, even you said, you threw it away as a statement, but you said, you said something like, I don't consider myself creatively talented or something like that. Yeah. And that's what you've been conditioned by people grading you and comparing you and you comparing yourself to others. Yet you're just creating these sentences as you're saying it that are completely spontaneous and fresh, and it's amazing what you're just doing sitting there right now, listening, speaking, creating a podcast. You've designed the room, like, you're constantly creating. I don't know how you could say it's not creatively I think I know what you mean, is like in comparison to other people. But I think that is, when we compare ourselves to other people, that is the beginning of us starting to quash down that spark, that life, that spirit that you are. It's not even that you get to have or that you get to be endowed with some other, it's like what you actually fundamentally are is this creative spirit. And you can't, anything that you do is an expression of it. You can't not be it. Every word you say, every word you don't say, you're creating this moment.
Yeah.
And to just notice that, to really fully notice it, is in one way like the most humble thing that can possibly happen, because then you see it is you actually, what you think of as you, whatever you're comparing to other people, it's one and the same creativity. It's one and the same, whatever thoughts appeared in your head with the electricity in the brain. Like, what is that? Where'd you get the electricity in your brain? Where'd you get the oxygen that you breathe through your lungs, that your blood is carrying to your brain, that allowed this thought to become a thought and allowed that thought to like send signals down the spinal cord and get your body to like move in a very specific way to be able to say it. It's magical. It's crazy. Like, life is amazing. To be a body and have these minds is divine, and it's not isolated. It all goes together, and we're all connected in this, and we're all just gifts or recipients and givers of this divine gift of life and creativity and the flow of all of it. And so to really experience that is to lose any ability to claim responsibility in my ego for it. And to go, well, yes, I am more creative than that person. As soon as I start thinking like, or I'm less creative than that person, it's two sides of the same coin. It's to get lost in the creative flow that we all already are. And that there's nothing more spiritual than that to me. That is, I think can be found in every great tradition. I think at the heart of Christianity, what I love about the teachings of Yeshua is it's like this, what we're trying to talk about here, you can't actually talk about with words directly. It's because it's so fundamental to what we are. You can only kind of like point at it or tell stories about it. And that's what Jesus did. Like, you'd be like, look at these kids playing. Like, you see this? There's the kingdom of heaven. Or like, look at the birds in the field. They're not worried. You see, they're just here. They're just in the field. And look at how beautiful these flowers are. And let me tell you a story about a shepherd with he leaves all these sheep and goes to find, he's just kind of like pointing at how things are, this like impulse, this creative, loving, I would say salvation impulse to how everything is. Chesterton wrote about like the sun rising every morning, the earth being like encore every day, encore, again. Like, it's just this symphony. That's what existence is. This is this, yes. And when we make it about beliefs and identities and comparisons, and these people have got it right and these people have got it wrong, I just think we lose literally the entirety, like we lose the plot entirely. And that is what I think what hell is. I think that is what sin is like we've got disconnected from our source, from our essence. And now we're out here trying to be the gods of our own little egoic kingdoms. And that's miserable.
I feel it. I did some scrolling. I scrolled all the way down to your very first episode, I believe, if my scrolling did not fail me, of the Liturgy podcast. You know what it was on?
Creativity. I remember,
Yeah. Some dude asked, he asked a question around keeping your creative tank full or something like that. And this was back in 2014. So as of this recording, that's like 11 years ago. And you said something along the lines, and I'm summarizing here, to keep your creative tank full, tend to you, tend to your soul, tend to your heart. And I was curious, 11 years later, if you would still answer the same way.
Yeah, but I think I would qualify that with tending to your heart and tending to your soul is sort of clearing the path for it to happen. It's not like there's a radical trust in putting yourself in a position where creativity can flow through you. This is like the leap off the cliff. And that leap off the cliff can be sitting at your desk, turning on your laptop, putting your fingers on the keyboard. It can be saying yes to the dance party. Whatever the thing is that you like, I don't know where this goes. I don't know how this happens, but let's see. Let's just dive in. That trust is a radical act of trust. And sometimes our hearts, what's surrounding our hearts, these fearful parts of us are holding us back from leaping into life in its entirety in this moment. Yeah. And so if I would say tending to your soul, tending to your heart, taking care of those places that are too afraid to leap and say yes into the risk. It's really kind of a death, like to just jump off, like, okay, I'm going to make something. We're going to play. We're going to do this. I don't know what comes next. I did an improv class this last year for just to practice this. Just like, that's uncomfortable. Let's do it. Like, where's the edge? Where what feels like, where's a creative edge that I feel like I'm uncomfortable with? Because if I'm never doing that, if I'm just putting in my hours for being a skillful guitarist, for instance, I'm just going to start getting into a cycle of doing the same exact thing, even if it's technically good, even if compared to other people, I can play faster scales and more chords and whatever. Like, who cares? That sometimes it's right beyond the edge that you're going to find I'd probably say always. It's beyond the edge that you're going to find that magic. The magic never is within the really comfortable thing. You got to, what's beyond what I know? What's beyond what this cliff is that I don't know what's here? Here we go. And so the jump, but sometimes again, you might have parts of you that are resistant making that jump. So whatever you can do to take care of yourself and know that you can trust that spirit, that muse, that whatever is beyond the edge to be beautiful. Then you can wholeheartedly jump.
I feel like, tell me if I'm wrong on this, you're kind of speaking to like feminine energy over masculine there, and it's like a yes and with that, right? It's we need both. I think where I struggle, I guess, the most with that is figuring out, I'd lean more into the masculine of schedules and deadlines and so forth, and you need the play. And then it's like, I guess, looking back, if you go into the play, the feminine, whatever, looking back into the masculine, what is your, and I know there's no answer to this necessarily, but viewpoint of the point of that, if really the magic, God, source, whatever is in all of the improv class jumping off the cliff thing.
Yeah, I love that you brought the masculine and feminine into it, because I think the meeting of those two is what creates the beauty. Without both, it's either going to be chaos or stagnant. If you don't have a balance of, I've been in sometimes I've done like song circles in Los Angeles that are like completely the feminine, jump off the cliff, let's see what happens. And people are just blah, 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 making crazy sounds running around the room. And it's like, it's fun, but you're never gonna, it doesn't, first of all, that was just for that moment. There's nothing that was created that could ever be shared with anybody else. It wasn't like if you listen to a recording of it, nobody else would enjoy listening to that. Right, yeah. Which is fine. It's just to create the potential, art, for instance, like art depends on both, because you can't, if you didn't have any deadlines, forms, editing process, say, no, that's not quite what I want it to be. I want it to be something else. That'd be more the masculine side of it. if you never apply if you never let the two meet, you can't actually create anything that lasts. So the feminine needs the masculine, but the masculine needs the feminine, or it would just be a spreadsheet with numbers that are just dead and flat, right?
Yeah.
So, and by the way, when we're talking about masculine and feminine, I'm sure you know, but people listening, this is not about men and women.
Right.
We all have all of these, both of these energies in us, and certain individuals probably tend to skew towards one or the other more in certain ways and creatively. And you probably know where you skew just hearing these descriptions. But we all need both of them. We all have both of them, and we all need both of them to be able to make stuff. And I've done different things to for a little while. A couple of years ago, I was actually scheduling time in my day for the masculine creative side and for the feminine creative side, to really give both of them a time slot to really fully express, and just to, because sometimes during the creative, it's like, okay, is this time to edit right now, or is this time to just blah 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 sing nonsense into the mic, and to find a little bit more balance in myself, I wanted to like really specifically give them each like pure time. Like this is just very silly, playful, totally improv time, and I'm gonna sit down and edit every single waveform of this note as slowly and meticulously as possible time. And that was fun. I liked that. It was a cool experiment for me.
It's smart. It's smart. Kind of last theme to touch on here. It's kind of dark.
Great.
But let's go.
Let's go.
What in your mind, I'm trying to frame this like kinder and nicer, is really the point of it all? The work, the art. I kind of miss, and I feel guilty saying this, I miss having mission and certainty in a lot of stuff, because come on, I mean, there's just so much clarity around it. But then when I think about, I produce these shows, I know that this is what I'm supposed to do, these conversations. I love it. And there's part of me that's like, all right, Heather, you want to make an impact in the world. And then I'm like, no, you don't, because you can't really make an impact in the world. And why should you want to make an impact in the world? Because you really need to make an impact on yourself. Then I'm like, well, why do I really need to be talking to anybody then, and recording it and sharing it with people?
Yeah.
And it's like this cycle where it's like, I'm aware and I believe, and it feels good, that really at the end of the day, for anything to move externally, my whole life spent working on the inside of Heather is time well spent, and that is what I need to do. But then there's this compulsion to drag this thing out, DM you, get on a mic, and put it out there, and I want it to grow, and I want it to reach people, and I love it. And wrestling with that, and what's the point, and I'm romantic with the word calling. And again, that's just been to me since I was a little girl. But I love that idea. And maybe it's something I need to let go of. God, this is the most messy question. But what's the point of art creativity when we know that these words are so bad. Our job here is not to fix Michael or fix Heather or fix anyone else. What is the point then?
Yeah. I think it's a beautiful question. And I think it can be so scary from an egoic perspective, or from a, I don't even say egoic in a way that's trying to like make it sound like a bad perspective or something, but just from a perspective of I'm separate from the whole flow of all of this. Right. That from that perspective, like letting go of a means to an end thinking feels dangerous, because the ego puts all sorts of red flags up. Like, well, then you're gonna what? You're just gonna sit around and just be meaningless, like do whatever, just be a hedonist and not care for anybody, and so there's this like fear of, you start feeling nihilistic if you say like, well, what's the point? And we kind of associate that a lot of times with despondency, with apathy.
Right.
And that sort of despondency and apathy really is, I think it's a huge problem for so many people and for our society, and like what we just, well, I guess this is what we do. We just bomb kids. Right. Oh, well, this is how the world is. I don't think that's actually a full embrace of meaninglessness. I think it's a partial embrace of it. I think we start letting something kind of deconstruct. We don't let it fully, because fully let it deconstruct would actually be to let our ego fully deconstruct, which it would actually end in complete surrender and flow. So that's, the ego will not have that. So it's just enough to put us in this sort of numbness, apathy, despondency. And some people try to counter that by, most of us, I think, try to counter that by putting the gas pedal on our beliefs and like, well, come on, have hope. Yeah. You can change the world. You can, this does matter. It does mean something. You're not just making a podcast. You're changing lives. Yeah. You're helping people. And like, nothing wrong with that, but it does kind of like run out of gas if you really pay attention to what you're doing, because if you're always doing something as a means to an end, I think you can feel it directly, like the shallowness of that and the ego-ness of it. Like if somebody tells you, if you think of a beloved, your husband or your child or something, comes up to you and like looks you in the eye and just says, I just wanted to express how much I love you and how beautiful and perfect I think you are. And then they said, and you like to start taking that in, and they said, and I'm doing that so that in the future you will anything. Like if you felt that was a means to some end, it would actually lessen the experience, right? Like would it be more or less romantic if they're like, I don't have any reason for telling you that. I just had to say it it felt good to say.
Yeah.
Like that would be the most beautiful, true thing to receive them. Like, wow, what a means to an end always reduces it. Always. If I'm dancing with you to try to get you to like me, that's not fun.
Right.
If I'm dancing because it feels good to dance, that's a fun friend to have at a dance party. They're just totally making love. If you're making love with somebody who's only doing it to make you feel good as a means to an end so that you feel confident and secure in your love, it's like boring. Right. You want them to be in it and experiencing it for itself. For itself is the highest possible anything, when something is actually just done for nothing else but for itself, to dance just because, no reason, to sing just because, to love just because, to make a podcast just because, to serve somebody, to give somebody a glass of cold water and they're thirsty, not to heal the world, just because, why not? It feels good. It feels good to give somebody a glass of cold water that wants water. You look at their face and the cold water makes them satisfied and you feel satisfied. This is what we are. We are by nature empathetic. We are by nature loving. We are by nature creative. You don't have to add it. You don't need to use meaning as like a carrot to get you to be loving and creative and empathetic. Yeah. It's what you are already. So when you just let it be, you don't have to hold on to any step two to actually fully enjoy and fully engage with what you're doing. If you just make a podcast and talk to people because you like it.
Yeah. And
you can enjoy also people listening to it and saying that it helped them, but that should be secondary. Or it growing and creating money. Great. That's fun. Making money is fun, but if that's the primary, you're going to burn out.
Yeah.
Like anything that you're doing where it's always a means to an end is going to burn. It's not real. It's not alive for you, actually. Like, so doing it, this is for itself with no next step. It's not so that. It's just because this is what I'm doing now. That will remain alive. And I actually think it will bear more fruit unintentionally, if you will. Like it, just like somebody saying, I love you in a way that's not to try to get you to feel a certain way, but they just wanted to express it, will actually probably make you feel happier, probably make you feel more romantic, make you feel more connected to them if they're not actually trying to get you to feel connected to them and romantic. They're just, I couldn't help but say it. You have beautiful eyes. And that's true for them. You'd be like, oh my God, thank you. You know? So for me, I'd say let go of the meaning, let go, but all the way. It feels like you're going through into nihilism, but nihilism just is not far enough.
Do you have to go through that though? Like, do you have to go through the kind of like apathetic, I'm a little depressed to go through that to get to full surrender? Maybe.
I think that's what the dark night of the soul is. Maybe. I don't want it. I don't want you to have to go through it.
No, I think I'm already in it.
Maybe not.
I think I'm already in it.
But you can take, if you're in it, a sign, because people start going into it and they try to back out. I think most people, but really to feel it, to feel like, what if nobody listens to this? Whatever the thing is. I went through a dark night of the soul with my music for a while after I had some freedom. It was actually a result of some freeing things for me, that I wasn't attaching myself to my music to need approval so much anymore or anything. And then for a while I didn't write. I had nothing to say because that was the driver. Yeah. For a while.
Yeah.
And so it's like, well, there's nothing driving this. Why would I do this? And it kind of led into that little, but that passed. If you let yourself feel it and go through it, it does pass. And then what comes after it is what's actually alive. That for me, for music, it actually came back alive. It's like, oh, I can actually make music not to get approval or not to get security, but because I love music.
Right.
I love it.
Right.
It's amazing. Why would I not make it? And then it becomes more, that's the kind of life I want to live with everything. I don't want to love my kids for a means to an end so that they someday are more, they have a more stable self-image so they can have a good career someday. And that's why I love my daughter. It's like, no, it's a meaningless outpouring of my heart to this child because for itself. It's just love being love. That's it.
So calling for you.
Calling, is this moment. It's like, it's like calling is something you could describe later. You can look in the rearview mirror and be like, the more that you're in present, the calling is not going to show up as an abstract identity. Like, okay, Heather needs to be podcaster. That's your calling. That's not your calling. Your calling is what's alive to you right now. If you follow that and you do it again in the next moment and you do it again in the next moment, you keep staying with what's alive in you, you can look at the rearview mirror and be like, wow, I made a bunch of podcasts and I wrote a book and I was friends to these people. Like, that's a story that you're telling about your calling. But the calling is more than, it's not a job description. It's not a LinkedIn profile. It's not it's your life. It's your livingness. It's active. And it might change from moment to moment. Neither of us could have known we'd have podcasts 20 years ago. Yeah. It didn't exist.
Right.
So you couldn't be like, I'm going to be a podcaster. That's my calling. It's like, you have no idea what this moment turns into for the next. You can't. And if you try to, you'll more likely to leave your calling, if you will, than to follow it. Your calling is not abstract. It's alive.
So wild how freaking simple all of this is. And it's like, why am I so confused about the most simple thing? You're like, Heather, be happy, follow bliss. And I'm like, what?
Yeah. It is very simple. Wild. It's childishly simple, but incredibly difficult for us, apparently.
And that wraps me back around to the very thing I asked you at the beginning about like my imagination. I'm like, wow, isn't it? Because everything I'm listening to, reading, and so forth is just like play, surrender,
Yeah.
simple. And I'm like, wow, what has to be unlocked for me to get back into, again, there's the doing thing again. Like, where's the formula for that? But
Yeah.
that's the mission right now. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like the more abstract you get, that's where the complication comes. Like, it's like, you know, when you're out in the spreadsheets and you're in the crazy math of, if you add this and add this and add this, you're in sophistication and in complexity, but you're not in life anymore, actually. Yeah. Now you're just in the mind, like the creations of the mind, these imaginary constructs, which are fine. They're fun. But we lose part of the magic of what it is to be in a body on a spinning planet around a burning ball of hydrogen. Like, this is crazy existence. It's magical. And comparing ourselves to each other, judging what we're doing all the time, feeling like we're not enough in this, just really puts us in hell. And it's like these minds of ours are so powerful. The imaginations are so powerful and so beautiful, but like every powerful, beautiful tool, the ego can use it for great destruction and to create hell on earth. Like, and so when these minds become our masters rather than our tools, and our imaginations, it's not that people need more imagination. I think they actually have just we have such good imaginations, they believe it to be true. So they believe tomorrow to be true, and they believe yesterday to be true. And they believe their stories about reality to be true, and they're not. This is true, this moment. And you don't need your imagination for this moment. It's not that imagination is bad, but we have such vivid imaginations. I can remember what I was doing yesterday and who I was through, and it feels real. And it's like, none of that, that's all your imagination. Use your imagination as a tool. It's already there. It's incredibly powerful. But if you attach to it and identify with it and believe it, it's like, I can imagine a unicorn, and that's a beautiful thing. If I imagine it, I could tell stories about it. I could draw a unicorn, and the more clearly I imagine it. But if I believe that I have a unicorn, if I cross, then I'm crossing into like psychosis, right? Or like I'm leaving sanity and believing my imagination so much. If I'm like, I'm not taking care of my unicorn, I haven't fed him ever, he's going to die. And I start getting all neurotic about taking care of my unicorn. I don't realize that's my imagination. That's how we are with most of our lives, like the future and the past. And I need to be enough. I need to create. These are all just complete fabrications. There's nothing real about them. Yeah. But we're so living in our imaginations, these powerful tools. We're so identified with what's being imagined of who am I? I have this imagination of who I am. I'm a guy who lives here and does this, and whatever my imagination of the day, what do I imagine myself to be? And I think that's what I am. What I actually am is too mysterious to know. I can't know that. So, maybe keeping an eye on the imagination, keeping aware of the imagination, rather than getting lost in belief in the imagination. It might be a way to keep the imagination actually a really helpful, powerful tool in our lives, as opposed to our masters that keep us in hell.
I love that so much, because we just talked about kind of going from the what's the point, the apathy, and like what are we doing, and then what a cool, fun project. Maybe that's the point. Redirecting our imagination to right here, right now.
Yeah.
God, that feels so good. You did not have to say yes to this. Thank you for talking to some random Southern girl about God knows what for an hour. I'm so grateful for the stuff that you post and the things that you say, and the life that you're just pouring out, because it's fun for you, but it freaking hits people like me in all the right ways. So thank you. Thank you for your work. Thanks for being with us today. I have a final question I ask everyone, but I want to give you an opportunity to share what you're most excited about I saw you had a songwriters retreat coming up, which I'm jealous because I'm not a songwriter. But I know you have stuff for folks in the creative space. So what are you most excited about you'd like to point our listeners to?
Yeah, I am excited about that songwriters retreat. That's going to be really fun. I'm excited about this album that I'm about to release. I'm excited about the trees that I just moved into a new place, and I'm getting to know these big trees here, and they're beautiful. And
trees. You like trees a lot. You bring up trees quite a bit.
I do. I think they're so wise. I think there's some. I've learned a lot from trees, and yeah, so that's where I'd point the listeners. Go speak to a tree for a while.
What's the name of your album?
The name of the album is, I think it's going to be called Magnificat, and I'm going to release the first movement. That's the plan. Is the first movement will be released probably in August or September.
Badass. We'll put that in the show notes. Very last question. What is something in your life that you are deeply questioning right now? I'm laughing because I'm asking you this question. Something you're deeply questioning, and it could be something deep. It could be something really silly. Like I always bring up, why does Taco Bell serve breakfast? Like, but what's been on your mind lately that you have a big question mark around?
Democracy?
Oh, Lord Jesus. Woo. Woo.
Does it work?
Buckle in.
Is it gonna work? We'll see.
We'll see. Thank you for your time today. This is awesome.
Yeah.
Gotta drop that bombshell.
Thank you.
Lord.